As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I know we're not talking about these games in depth, but the 49ers, it looks like Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel are going to be good to go, going to be healthy, ready to fly around out there. And that's the big key. If you don't have those two guys healthy, in my opinion, you don't have much of a football game. So it looks like they're going to be out there ready to roll. And as you know, Gabe, injuries tend to feel a little bit better whenever it's warm and you're in a dome, not whenever it's 0 degrees in Green Bay. That ankle can hurt a little bit more whenever it's cold outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Bold strategy going with the winner of the weekend that the game, like, we have no idea what has happened. That was that. What are you doing?
Well, I'm just
Explain
saying
yourself.
they're the winner because these guys are playing. I'm not
Okay.
saying they're going to win. I'm just saying, like, you wouldn't even have a game, in my opinion, if these two guys are hobbled.
You're
So,
gonna look really dumb when the Rams win by like 2 touchdowns. People are gonna be like, they're gonna listen to this Monday morning and be like, what the hell's Teddy's deal?
well, here's the thing. I look dumb often, so it's not that big of a deal.
Fair
It's
enough.
just, to me, water off a duck's back, Gabe.
There you go. All right, who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
Oh, I had to go with Big 12 hoops. We did get some wins, but like the pivotal games, the big games that everyone was watching, did not do so well. I was shocked that Baylor couldn't pull the win off. Oklahoma, they had a couple of moments where they tried to make a run. Auburn, just too big, too athletic, and again, our offense, it's like it's such a grind to get a bucket at times. And on the other side, whenever you can run the floor and you're as athletic as Auburn, they would just little pick and roll, throw a lob, easy dunk, and we're right back on the grind ourselves. So it was tough. Would have been nice for the Big 12 to win some of those bigger games, and it ended up being what, it was like 6-4, something like that, I think. But if we would have won those bigger games, it keeps the impression that the Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball, which I think is going to would help more if we would have done better in this matchup to get some of those teams that are on the bubble into the tournament. If you keep that conference, the strength, the perception of strength nationally, I think it would help you get in.
Yeah, the bottom line is the marquee games, right? Did not go well, right? But you talk about the marquee teams for the Big 12. Man, I cannot remember Kansas getting their ass kicked like that in
Like
Allen
20
Fieldhouse.
plus, right? It's nuts.
I mean, Kentucky came in there and just smacked them around. Oscar Tshiebwe was great. Keon Brooks was great for Kentucky. And that game was over quick. And Kansas just, I mean, there was like a little glimmer of hope early in the second half, but Kentucky just, I mean, they whooped them. And then Baylor, they didn't have LJ Cryer in that game, and that foot situation does not sound good for him. But for a team that a lot of people consider a national championship contender, like one of the 5 or 6 teams that can actually win it, to go on the road and lose to that Bama team, that's not a good look. OU losing to Auburn, okay, it is what it is. It's clear that Auburn way more talented than Oklahoma. You mentioned it, like Auburn just had guys that could create their own shot, right? Jabari Smith, he's going to be a top 2 or 3 draft pick in the NBA draft. But the annoying part about that game was the hustle plays, like the Cambridge kid from Auburn was out hustling like that. That was the part that bothered me, especially late in that game. It was a 3-point game with 12 minutes to go. And they lost by 20. I mean, it's just it's
But they made a
unfortunate.
run. I think they were down 15 or so, and they reeled it back into like 7 or 8 with a decent little run. It's like, okay, here we go. And then Auburn blew that open really quickly. And, it's hard for us to play from behind against athletic teams like that. It's just so difficult to generate offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. For my winner of the weekend, thought about going with Bruce Pearl. We mentioned it. Auburn takes care of the Sooners there at home. Also got him a lifetime contract.
Woo.
$5.4 million a year with a $250,000 annual escalator through 2030. If you're doing the math at home, that is $50.2 million for Bruce Pearl to coach basketball at Auburn.
That's awesome.
Whoa.
That's some big time money right there.
That crowd,
that was
he's worth it to him.
Now. Yeah.
They got it rolling. Big. But my winner of the weekend, Daniel Jones. I mean, the New York Giants, they go out, they hire Brian Daboll as their new head coach, and he's been the offensive coordinator there in Buffalo. Remember, the Giants just hired Joe Shane as their new general manager, who was in the front office at Buffalo. So you got some continuity, some familiarity there between Daboll and Shane. And if you're Daniel Jones, like it hasn't gone well the first couple of years of your career. It hasn't gone well, but the reason he's my winner of the weekend, like this sets him up for success. Like now, if he just doesn't have it, then he just doesn't have it. Right. But now the revolving door of coordinators and coaches, like you've got an offensive guy that is going to put you in a position to succeed. Right. We just all saw what Daboll has done with Josh Allen in Buffalo over the last couple of seasons. And I'm not saying Daniel Jones is Josh Allen. He's not. But
they have similar traits.
He's got some athleticism, right? There's no doubt. Like he was a very high draft pick. So I just think this has got to be a breath of fresh air for Daniel Jones. He's got to look at this hire and go, hell yeah. I think this was the only offensive guy they were interviewing. Like all the other candidates they were interviewing were defensive guys. So the Bills had top 5 offenses the last 2 years. The Giants offense sucked this season and had a lot to do with the injuries. I understand that. But if you're Daniel Jones, like who had a better weekend than Daniel Jones? Like he's looking at this going, hell yeah, I'm going to be that guy. He's going to make me a big time NFL quarterback. We'll see what happens, but I mean, he's in a good spot.
Yeah. I mean, if you can do it at Buffalo, you can do it with the G-men. There's no doubt. It's got to be, I don't know if Daniel Jones views it this way, but I know the fan base there views it this way. This is going to be his last opportunity there, right? And it's you'll get a couple of years there, and if you don't have it, I think it's going to be apparent. And I think it's great though. I think, like I said, I think they share some similar traits. He's got a big arm. He is a way better runner than maybe he gets credit for. Not that you want him to live on that, but he's got some athleticism. They've got to have a good draft. They've got to, that's the one thing about Buffalo is they did a good job at finding some really good offensive talent and building it around Josh Allen there. It's not just all system. They brought in some really good players that, frankly, didn't have a whole heck of a lot of, had success at other places, but weren't really happy. And somehow they've made those guys happy in Buffalo. So a mix of free agency and drafting was really key to Buffalo. And that's going to be the same thing in New York.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Daniel Jones, but he's got to be very happy with this hire. All right. For my loser of the weekend, I thought about going with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's not because they lost to the Pacers. I mean, that is what it is at this point, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes out with the rolled ankle. Thunder come out and say it's going to be several weeks before we see SGA out on the court again. Damn it, man. Like he had become so fun to watch. And I guess we'll see what a Josh Giddey led Thunder team looks like with Shai on the shelf for a while. But man, they can lose, but like I want to watch Shai Gilgeous-Alexander play.
I know it. Is this the
Oh no, he rolled it bad and limped off bad. Like this wasn't like, oh hey, Shai, take your time. It didn't look great.
But I'm asking, is it going to turn into that? Is it going to turn into the ankle injury where they've basically put him on the shelf and been like, okay, that was fun, not again this year?
Well, they're losing plenty. I mean, it's
right.
So I don't know, but it just. You
will
want
not
that
be
guy
rushed
out
back
there playing
by any means.
I mean, he was playing at an all-star caliber level, and I just don't want you don't want that guy hurt. Like I know they're losing games, but you want to build in chemistry, and you want Giddy and SGA and Dorton, like all these guys playing minutes and developing chemistry for the future, even if they are losing games. So I don't know, it just made me sad. But my loser of the weekend, it's got to be Adam Schefter. What was that? I mean, tweets that Tom Brady is retiring, but then Tom Brady says Tom Brady isn't retiring. Calls the Bucs, says, "Hey, I'm not even close to making a decision yet." His dad comes out and it's like, Tommy hasn't made that decision yet. I mean, what the hell, Schefter? ESPN just kept running with it all day. Even after the Brady camp had said, no, that's not true. They had it on the ticker. They talked about it during halftime of all the college basketball games. Like, what's going on?
I don't know. It was funny whenever I read the rundown because I was still operating under the impression that was like a confirmed thing. I had just seen like the breaking news or whatever. I hadn't actually like listened to anything. So it's funny whenever I read that, I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's kind of interesting. They're still running with it. It's still all over ESPN's website. They haven't backtracked on that at all, which, it probably tells me that he has to feel really, really good about whoever told him that and for them to continue to run with it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And maybe he's retiring, just not now. I saw this from Spotrac. Turns out $15 million of Tom Brady's $20 million signing bonus from last March is set to be paid out on February 4th. So yeah, he's not announcing anything until that old direct deposit hits.
Yeah, well, the official announcement comes February 5th, I'm guessing, right?
And the Bucs will be happy to pay it. They'll be like, "Hey, man, you want us a Super Bowl? Yeah, here's your money." But
isn't that awesome? That's a nice little parting gift, isn't it? Dang.
Yeah. Imagine getting $15 million and not being like that excited about it, like because of how much money Tom Brady has made playing football
like
and in endorsements.
It's crazy, man.
He just like it hits the account. He's like, "Oh, I mean, that's cool."
Hey, Giselle, was that 15 million? Was that my 15 million for like my payout, or was that yours for your photo shoot you did last week? Like, whose is that? Have they both come in?